What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky and nerdy stuff that I just really love talking about. Today, I'm doing another revisit, another retrospective, if you will. This past weekend, I was able to revisit the 1973 film, The Exorcist. It being Halloween time, I'm revisiting some old scary movies. Now, I've seen The Exorcist before, but I was in high school the last time I watched it. If I had to guess, I would say I was 17 the last time I watched it. So we're talking 26 years ago since I've seen The Exorcist. Me and a group of my guy friends, we watched it at one of my friends' house because we heard someone tell us that it was the scariest movie ever made. Here's the thing. When you're in high school and watching a movie like this with your friends, everything is funny. Even the scary stuff you make jokes about, you try to create levity, you try to look tough in front of your friends. And I'm being honest here, I didn't like The Exorcist at the time that I watched it. The movie was really slow. I didn't relate to Damien Karras at all. We had no shared life experiences. I didn't relate to Chris. I kind of looked at Father Marin as this cool old dude who came to save the day. Reagan was the character that I most identified with when I was 17. Um, I was watching the movie and there were parts of it that made me uncomfortable. But it was through Reagan's eyes where I kind of watched it. The idea of this happening to me, I wasn't afraid of actually getting possessed, but my point of reference was Reagan, and I found it scary the thought of going through her experiences. But again, I didn't really like the movie when I was 17. It was slow. I thought it was plotting. I didn't understand most of the characters' point of views because at 17 years old, I didn't have any similar life experiences. It was a very mature film. I couldn't relate to Chris. I wasn't a parent. Relating to Father Karras was hard. He was essentially the main character, but at 17, I hadn't lost a parent. I hadn't had a crisis of faith of any kind. I had no reference point for what he was going through. Again, I thought Father Marin was cool. I viewed him as like this pastor superhero, this who had come to save the day. But even from a religious component, I didn't have enough experiences with personal religion to understand the faithless coming to faith through tragedy, as Chris did and Reagan. As a teenager, I found the rebellious nature of The Exorcist to be entertaining. There's a lot in this movie that is put there strictly to shock the viewer. In 1973, a lot of what they showed in this movie was just unheard of. As a teen in 1998, I enjoyed the shocking stuff because I enjoyed the did they just do that nature of the storytelling. Kind of the way that I would enjoy a Saw movie a few years later, but would eventually outgrow them. The shock value wasn't enough to make me like the movie in 98 because it was just too slow and some of that shock stuff I'd experienced in other movies before. It wasn't 1973, so I'd already experienced it. The movie was exposition heavy, it was character driven, but let's fast forward to October 14th, 2023. My experience watching The Exorcist was much different, and today I can say confidently it's actually one of my favorite horror films. It's a mature film, and it hits differently when you watch it as a parent. Understanding the helplessness that Reagan's mom must have felt and her desperation to help her daughter at any cost. Father Karras hit different watching as an adult. I get him. Now, I've never had a crisis of faith like he has, but I've had moments in my life where I've had strong disagreements with God, strong disagreements about what was happening in my life. God's ways always won out, but I've always ended up better because of it. But I do understand not being comfortable with the state of your faith. Karras is a great character who gets the most important arc of the film, and he might die during the exorcism, but in a strange way, the exorcism saved him also. Father Marin is still cool. Father Marin is still cool. Perhaps a little exposition light, though. A little more exposition might have made him better equipped. It might have made Karras better equipped to fight the demon, and might have even given the audience a little more background on why Marin was the perfect foil for Pazuzu. Again, this movie hit differently for me as an adult, and I loved it. I don't know why I've been sitting on it for 20 years. Now I'm trying to decide if I want to watch any of the sequels or if I should just let this film stand. The Exorcist is a true example of why rewatches are necessary in movies. The movie doesn't change, but we change. Sometimes our change can be so dramatic that the movie will feel like a completely different experience, especially if enough time has passed. That was my experience with The Exorcist. 26 years between viewings, and I went from not liking it at all to now I love it. Now I can honestly say it's one of my favorite scary movies I've ever seen. And again, the movie didn't change. It stayed the same since 1973, but I've changed. And and my perspective on it is definitely different. So, guys, I'm sure most of you have probably seen The Exorcist. Tell me what you think of The Exorcist in the comments below. And have you seen what are some examples of some movies like that where you saw it as a kid, maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't like it, and then as an adult, your view on it has completely changed? Let me know. All right, thanks, guys.